Hello. As part of the EA Creator Network, I do receive some packs for free, including the Life and Death expansion pack, which is what I used a lot of in this build. I'm also building in Ravenwood, which I've been building in for the last, whenever the pack came out. I can't even remember now. It was Halloween, right? The pack came out on Halloween. I've been obsessed with this world. I've been trying to like check out the different lots and the different neighborhoods and stuff. This neighborhood is called Whispering Glen, which is where I had built that like 8 sim manor that I had hosted last week. This is in the same neighborhood. It's on a 30 by 30 lot, I believe. It's a really beautiful lot. It's right by this like river over here, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted the front of the lot to be, so you'll see me kind of going through some variations of the shape of this build. Like I had planned on this part being the front of the house, but then I realized that the front of the lot was facing the river, and I did like that. So I ended up going with that. But like my thought process for having the front of the lot be over here was that I wanted the river in the like background of my screenshots of the exterior of the build, but I ended up really liking how the other side turned out. So I made that the front of the house, and it all worked out too because then I had plenty of space to do like a little tiny barn and farmland in the backyard. It's not like a huge farm. I think there's just like maybe at most 9 plots of gardening areas. There's like a chicken coop and a like cow barn, and that's about it. But I feel like it looks really nice together. And here you can see that I was trying different shapes and I wasn't really sure what I was doing. And I ended up deleting like that entire level of the house. The house only ends up being 2 stories if you don't count the like towers that are mostly just for like decor and accents. I don't think I put anything in the top towers. I believe that I deleted the floor of those anyway to make it just like a high ceiling. I also already forgot to mention that this build is part of a collab with some other simmers. It is hosted by Sims 4 Telestory on Instagram. It's called the Define Gravity collab, which is a Wicked themed collab, but they did say that you didn't have to build specifically like themed for the movie or like the Wizard of Oz. You can build a house for like any kind of witch. And so that's kind of what I went for. Um I think like I was going to look through and see if like anything from the movies inspired me, and then I think I just got like really like caught up in like a million other builds and stuff, and so that kind of like completely left my mind. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do a tarot reader's house. And then when I finished editing this, I was like, oh, like I kind of forgot that I originally wanted to at least like look into some other stuff that I could have done that was more themed to the movies. I'm gonna be so honest, I've never seen Wicked. I don't know a lot about it. I do know that a movie is coming out, and um I really liked The Wizard of Oz as a kid. That was one of my favorite movies, but it's been like so long since I've seen it. So I wouldn't even be able to tell you what any of the buildings look like in the movie. But I built a house for a witch who does tarot readings. She could be like a green witch too with her garden. Maybe she's like a kitchen witch. She brews up potions, soups and stuff with intention, that sort of thing. But yeah, I really like how this build came out. I feel like the outside doesn't like when you look at it, I feel like it automatically doesn't scream that like a witch lives here. To me it does, but I feel like the interior is like much more witchy than the exterior looks at first. Um I have like an entire upstairs area which is dedicated to spells and witchcraft and stuff like that. There's a lot of candles. There's this really beautiful like podium. Is it a podium with like a spell book with like all these melted like candles around it that came with life and death? It's really pretty, and I knew like automatically that I wanted that to kind of be like the centerpiece of the room. There's a cauldron up there. There's like herbs hanging around. The like just every part of the house. This tower back here that's like led through like this sort of weird porch area that ends up being a tarot reading area. So if someone books a tarot reading, they go through the house to the back tower over there, and that's where they get their tarot cards read. I do also want to mention that you can find other people's builds for this collab using the hashtag that I have in the description. I think it's hashtag TS4 Defying Gravity collab. So if you're like really into Wicked and you're like excited for the release and stuff, I'm sure that some people have probably done really good themed builds for it that's like more accurate to the characters and stuff like that, where mine is more of just a witchy build. So if you're excited about that, you could check out all the builders. I'll probably have the list of all of the creators in the community tab on YouTube as well. Um, yeah, so you could find everybody over there on there, or you can use the hashtag on the gallery or on like literally any platform. Well, not any platform. I think people are mostly on Instagram for this collab. That's usually how most of the collabs that I join are, is usually simmers from Instagram. I don't know if there's like a lot of collabs outside of Instagram, like on other platforms. I don't think I've ever really seen any. I'm not like, I know a lot about like the Sims community on Instagram. But outside of that, I don't really know. But yeah, they're mostly all simmers on Instagram. They make really beautiful builds, so it's definitely worth checking out all of their builds, like no matter what. But yeah, this is like the shape of the build is pretty much done. I'm just kind of adding some more like details to this like wraparound porch. I'm using two different fences from Life and Death, which like I know like I've said a lot of good things about this pack. Oh, sorry if you heard that squeak. I'm once again playing with this glass of water. What was I saying? Okay, I've said a lot of good things about this pack, but I like this is genuinely, I think, my favorite expansion pack. It is up there with Cottage Living, and that's saying a lot. Like, I think both of those packs pair really nicely together anyway. But this one just like I don't know. There's elements of it that feel like The Sims 1 and like some of the items in there. Cause I remember the first time I played The Sims 1, like for real, it was on Discord with my friend who like loves The Sims 1. And there's like, was always these really beautiful stone textured, like, walls and windows and stuff. And I was like, we need something like that in The Sims 4, and we had like nothing like it. And like the Castle States kit kind of gave some of it, but I feel like this one gave like so much. Even just the roof that I'm using here, it feels like exactly what we've been needing in The Sims 4 for at least like builds like this in the style. And like there's some things I would have never even thought that I needed, like that fence that has the hay at the top. I never would have thought I needed a fence like that, but now that's going in every single one of my builds in a backyard. And maybe that's why I've been doing like farm builds. Well, I say I've been doing them. I did two of them, but it's like back to back, like last week and this week. And there was like another build that I had wanted to do, and I completely forgot now, so me saying that was kind of pointless. And there's also a possibility that I might skip next week's upload. If you've watched like a lot of my videos, you would have heard me sometimes say that I know when I need a break when I like dread having to edit something. And that's happened with this build. Like I was so excited about building it and I built it so quickly. And then I just like put off editing this for so long, and it was like I had to force myself to like sit down and actually like set aside the time to edit it. And when that happens, it usually means that I just need like a week away from not editing anything. So there's a possibility that next week I might not have a video up. I'll see though, because I might get some inspiration with like the new kits that came out, which I also got codes for. I did like post a picture using like the cozy kits kit. I don't even know if I'm saying that word correctly, but I did post a little like basement room build with it. It's a kit that's not really like my style, and it has like very vibrant colors, which I mean, like, if you see my builds, I don't have a whole lot of color in my builds, but I did find some swatches in those items that I really, really like. And I would like to be able to talk about the kit like out loud instead of just like typing in a description on like my Instagram. So I want to do a build that like highlights some of the items in it. I just don't know if I'll get around to having a build for next week, but I might not. Um, Either way, I'll update in like the community tab if that's the case. But every time I like need a week, people are always so nice and encouraging to me, and like they like help me be like, yeah, you could take your little break or you're fine, and I'm like, wow, thank you guys. But yeah, now I'm placing ivy around the outside. I think I add a little bit more later on. Like I think I literally did it yesterday, cuz yesterday is when I finished the upstairs of this build. Every time I talk about what I did and I say like a specific day, I feel like it doesn't even matter, cuz technically you don't even know when I'm recording this, but it's Friday right now, and I was gonna try and get this video up tomorrow, which is Saturday, because that's when the collab is due. But I think I'm just gonna post my screenshot on Instagram and then post this on my normal Monday upload and post my other pictures on my other like social media on that day too. But I used a lot of like yellow flowers for the outside of this build. I just really like how yellow flowers look in builds. It makes it feel very cozy, very cottagey. So I have like the yellow ivy climbing up the walls. There's flower boxes that have yellow flowers in it. Like I love those flower boxes. I don't even think I've ever really used them much at all. Like flower boxes is something I usually forget to put on my builds, even though I really like how it looks on other people's builds. And so I use them on like every single window, and I feel like it really helped to make it feel very cozy and give it that like gardeny, like farm vibe. Even before I decided on it having like a little farm in the background, in the backyard. But usually when I start a build, I don't really know what I'm gonna do with it, or like how the exterior is gonna look, or like what colors I'm gonna use. I usually use like a handful of the same sort of like exterior items anyway. I just knew that I wanted this to be for a tarot reader, and that was what I knew I wanted to do. And I was like, I want to use those, like, you see the brown windows that are on like the roof peaks? That is technically the other side of it is a stone like frame, which is like goes really well with like that stone brick that I'm using on the exterior of this house, and I used it on the manor last week. And when I had like sat down with the pack like the day that I got it, I was upset that we didn't have a swatch for those windows without the stone around it. And so this one, I was like, I can just take that window and I could like put it like, I was gonna say inside out. That's a weird thing to say about a window, but I put it so that the stone was on the inside of the house, and then like it's just the wood on the outside, and that's like the look that I really wanted. And I was like, I could just do that on the roof peaks, because you don't even see that anyway, because it's not like your Sims are going up into like an attic space. So I thought that was a good opportunity to do that. And I also did it for the towers, which I realized is also why I decided to delete the flooring of the towers, so there's no like ladder that goes up into it, because I had a feeling that the stone would look kind of weird on an inside like interior of a house. which is also why I really wish that we had gotten just like a wooden window of that shape with like the broken glass without like the stone frame on it. That would have been really cool, but I can settle for having it like this because it's exactly the type of window that I wanted, and I feel like it gives the look that I need it. And I just found a way around being able to do that without like making the interior look weird at all. And the windows like that paired really nicely with I think they're Discover University windows. I could also be wrong. We have like different windows that have that sort of diamond like window pane thing. I don't so I'm not sure which pack that's from because now I'm like, is it Discover University or is it like for rent? I I do not know. But there was something else that I wanted to say, and then I kind of forgot. Oh yeah, okay. I wanted to also say that because I'm in the EA Creator Network, I get like free game codes to give away. Well, I get one free game code to give away. And the first one I did was on my Instagram, and someone said that they would like me to host one on YouTube, and that's something that I want to do. I'm just not sure like how I would do it. So if you would like me to do a future giveaway on YouTube, I'm just like I'm not sure if it should be like comments on one video or like the community um tab. That's something that I'm trying to figure out. Like, so with the new kits that came out, I just hosted those on Twitter and on BlueSky. But for the next one, I do want to host it on YouTube and I want to like figure out what the best way is to do that and also the best way to contact people because you can't DM people on YouTube. So I like there's like multiple things I'm trying to work out and think about. So if you've seen people who like host giveaways, on YouTube and you kind of like know how they do it, I would love to like I'd love for you to tell me how they would do it or how you think I should do it. Because I'll also like look into it and see what other people have done and like figure it out because I would really like to be able to do that because I really think that the only reason I'm in the EA Creator Network is because of my YouTube. So I'm like, I really want to be able to like give back to the people who watch my videos. And I just need to like stop being scared to try something new and something that I'm not really sure how to do. So for the next pack that comes out that I have a code to give away, I want to do it on YouTube. And so I'm saying this now so there's no me backing out, being afraid and being like, "Oh, I don't know how to do it though, so I'm just gonna go and put it on my Instagram." And I know that once I do it one time, it'll feel easier and won't be as scary because even like when I was doing the life and death giveaway, I was so scared and I didn't know how to even do that either because I've never hosted a giveaway literally in my entire life. So that was scary. And then this time felt a little bit easier. So maybe next time will feel even easier. Especially if I kind of like look into how people are doing it on YouTube. Maybe I could like reach out to someone who is actually does it on YouTube so I like know what to do. But I yapped over the entire rest of the exterior as I often do. The terrain paint ended up getting deleted, so the terrain paint is going to be different from what it looks like now because I had to redo it again after because sometimes that just happens. But I have the floor plan set up for the build. It's only a 2-bedroom build because it is a lot smaller than I had kind of thought. Even the living room is really tiny, the dining room, the kitchen, they're all very small spaces. The main bedroom is pretty large as well as like the spell room upstairs is really large, but everything else was like, am I even gonna be able to fit stuff in this space? At least for the living room, because I really did not know like the floor plan for this living room because I'm like, you walk in, there's a giant fireplace, and I'm like, where do I even put a couch? And I do end up putting like a coffee table directly in like the walkway, which I thought was a little bit weird, but I was like, what else am I gonna do? This is like, I already put ivy on the outside of the house, which is like my first mistake because, and I did the landscaping framing the entire house, which I would have had to move if I wanted to make it bigger. Like, so that was a mistake. I should have like looked and seen how stuff fit inside the house before I did that. Sometimes I just forget and that happens, and then I'm like, now I can't really change the shape of it. I'm just gonna have to go with this. And I know I like sound like a complainer about the build, but I do actually really like this build. I love how it turned out, and I really like the inside. I think that it is like cluttered like really well, and I even just feel weird like hyping myself up with that. But I did put a lot more like effort and like intention into the cluttering and like decorating the spaces. I because the build was so small, it's like now I can especially do that. And because this is for a collab with other simmers too, I wanted to actually like make it decorated very nicely to like represent the collab and stuff and not just be lazy about the interior. So I am excited that we're like into the interior now so you could like see some of like the more witchy elements of the build, because I do feel like the exterior is just like one of my standard witches cottages. Um Maybe even not so because I didn't really put a lot of trees in the front of it, which when I was taking the screenshots of this build, I felt like the front was really empty. And I was like, what is wrong with this? That like I can't get a picture that I like. And then I realized that I didn't put a whole lot of trees, at least in the front of the house, because like I love the backyard. I feel like it looks very cozy and it's kind of like cramped, but in like a good way. And like the front of the house feels a little bit like barren a little bit. Um, and it's like because there's only really a tree on the side of the house, and then there's the one that doesn't have any leaves off to the side too. And I did add more ivy and stuff in because I was having that problem just looking at the build anyway. And so I added some more flowers and stuff like after I had finished this. So there'll be like a little bit of like a difference to I think some of the screenshots that I take, and also on the gallery there'll be a little bit more plants, and like of course there'll be the pathway that I hope doesn't get deleted when you upload to your game, or like when if you download it from the gallery and put in your game, it doesn't delete the pathway. Which I know that there was a known issue with downloading builds on the gallery where if I place an item that's like too close to the edge of the lot, they'll instantly be deleted. And like that'll happen if you don't have move objects on when you're placing a lot to begin with. But I heard that that was happening even with move objects on. I don't know if they fixed that since, but I hope they fixed it because that's a little bit of an annoying issue. And if you had just seen in this house that on the outside some of the wallpaper is in the front, I don't know how I didn't notice that when I was currently doing this living room, but I noticed it after and I fixed it. It seems so obvious when I'm doing the voiceover and I see the like wallpaper right there. I think I was just so focused on this living room and how weird the floor plan is of the house. And I'm like, do I really want a sim to open the front door and immediately like hit their shin on a coffee table? Because that's like the feeling I was getting when I was decorating this. And it was like a thought I just had to push out of my mind because I was like, there's nothing else to do. I don't know what else to put here. I feel like it's a little bit too empty if I don't have a table here. And like I'm sure I put a rug there, and I do like how the living room looks. I just don't like how close it is to the like front door, which I could have just like made the living room a little bit bigger, but I felt like I was forced to keep this because again, I had the plants lining everything like a border. And occasionally when I'm building, I'm on autopilot and I don't think of like stopping to just take the time to move some stuff over, which really realistically would take no more than 5 minutes to move things around. But when I'm like so focused, I'm like, I just need to continue and I need to keep making progress and I need to furnish this living room. I need to pick out this and this. And so I'm like, I'm just gonna deal with it and hope that it all works out in the end. And I do really like the living room despite the fact that it's like I don't like the entranceway of it, but I really like the wallpapers together. I like the like wall art that I picked out. Every time I use these tarot prints, I always like go through all the cards and I like pick one that speaks to me in the moment. I really like the strength card, which is the one with the lady and the lion over there. I feel like that's a card that I've pulled for myself a lot when I need advice, and it's kind of like encouraging me to just like do something despite it making me uncomfortable. It's also a card that like reminds us that like there are aspects of ourselves that we may not like or we may feel like isn't like we're not like proud of, and that card kind of just encourages you to take a gentle approach with yourself and just like it's like taming the lion so that like you could like move forward with strength. And I think it's a really beautiful card, and I paired it with the Wheel of Fortune, which is another very hopeful card. When I pull it, it's kind of like there's ups and downs and there's like ending of cycles, and if you don't like how something ended, there's always a new beginning, like stuff like that. So I paired them together because I was like, I love those two cards. I feel like they're really, really good advice cards, and the design of them look really nice too. I love the way the cards look. I really wish we had like an official Sims tarot deck with like not just the major arcana, which is what was like designed and the ones that you can like find in the world of Ravenwood, but I would really like to have like a full set of like pentacles and wands and swords and cups. I think that would be really cool. I would love to do tarot readings with an official Sims deck, but I don't know if we'll ever get something like that. But I did like in the tarot tower section, I did put one of each of like the four suits, so like the pentacles, the cups, the swords, the wands, on the wall in there. And I was like, I really, really wish that we had like a full deck. And I understand that it would have been like a whole lot more work to create even more of them, and like the artist that did it is incredible. I follow them on Twitter, and like when I found out that they were the ones that did the tarot stuff, I had like so much confidence in the pack. I was like, hell yeah, they did the tarot stuff. I know it's going to be iconic. And it was like the tarot cards is one of my favorite parts of the pack. Like, I never thought that we'd get, like, actual tarot stuff in The Sims 4. Like, I know that in, like, The Sims 3 we had a fortune-telling thing that was, like, a rabbit hole, right? But it wasn't really, like, in-depth or anything. And, like, I really hope that maybe, like, tarot being in The Sims, like, maybe, like, introduces some people into, like, the concept of it, and maybe, like, making them less afraid of it, because I know that some people's perception of it is of, like, this, like, fortune-telling thing. Maybe, like, they assume it's, like, a scam and stuff, but tarot could be a really beautiful thing, especially if you, like, use it for, just guidance and, like, daily advice, monthly advice, stuff like that. I've been reading tarot for 4 years now. I think I had started like I think during lockdown is when I got a tarot deck, and it's been like one of those things that helps to like motivate me and like keep me on track and like make me feel a lot more hopeful for things. Like, I've used tarot for advice on like YouTube and stuff, and like it always gives such like encouraging messages, and there's like many interpretations of the different cards and stuff. There's lots of like resources online that you can kind of like help you. So if you're like interested in tarot because of The Sims, um the website that I used when I was starting out was called Biddy Tarot. And I don't know why I'm like I'm like saying all this right now, but if by any chance you're interested, that's the resource that I've always like told people to go to when they're starting out, because I used to do when I was like streaming on Twitch more often, I used to do like tarot redeems and stuff, and I would typically pull up that for more general advice, and like because it gives more for someone to resonate with than just like, because tarot decks come with like a little booklet too of the meanings, but like there's a lot of different meanings for cards and like connections with cards together in the spread. It's like this whole thing. But I really love tarot, and here I am yapping about it. But this is a tarot reader's cottage, so I guess it makes sense that I can be talking a whole bunch about tarot. And most of the tarot stuff is like in the tower, like I had said earlier. This is the dining room area where I use those really beautiful broken like greenhouse windows, which is some of my new favorite windows in the game. Like, I can't believe we have like shattered windows. That's amazing. And like there's so many different versions of like all the windows that have like broken glass, which I'm like, I don't like, I'm like, whoever decided on the Sims team that this was a necessity, I love them for it because I feel like that's another part of like that's the, like my other favorite thing about the pack is the shattered glass. It's like tarot and broken windows. That's like all I could ask for in The Sims. Like I don't know what else I would ask for in like the build by like category of The Sims. Um but yeah, I was just doing the dining room and I do like a cute little like centerpiece area running down the dining room table. I had a bar in here too. Every time I put a bar in like a witchy home, I imagine like that's where they like brew potions, even though like technically in The Sims you can't do that. But I like pairing like the debug potion, like realm of magic stuff next to a bar and pretending like that's what's happening. I made like potion bars in the past for Glimmerbrook, like for my save file. I had a bar that I built like that, and I just recently actually played with it in gameplay. Like I have all these builds that I've made that I've never actually like done anything with in my own saves. Um, but because I was starting like a new family with life and death, I put in some of those commercial lots and it like felt so nice like revisiting a community lot that I had built so long ago because it's been over a year since I built that now and I like really liked it still. So that's a good sign, especially because I build a G shade on and I don't play with G shade on when I'm doing gameplay. So when I see that my build, I like still like it in gameplay without my shaders on, I'm just like, okay, like I feel confident and happy about this. And now we're in the tarot tower which I don't know if this is my favorite part. I guess I'll have to see because I don't really remember a lot of it. I feel like I do really like this area though because I end up using the like canopies from that new nursery kit, which it's like it is like a wall curtain type thing and I put it behind the chairs so it looks like a whole different piece of furniture and I feel like just looks really really nice. And yeah, here I am picking out the tarot cards, and I was once again looking through every single one to see what I wanted for it. And I was like, you know what? I feel like a good thing to have in here would be just having one of each of the different like cards, like the wands, pentacles, swords, cups. Like that would make sense over here. And it's like the tarot reader sits down and they're like explaining what each of those means in your reading. And then they're like, yeah, over there on the wall is like the four types that you could get and like here's what they mean in your reading. But yeah, that's the curtain that I was talking about. I feel like it's like perfect for a like fortune telling area. I love that. It's like one of those things that's meant to be at like the like headboard of the toddler's bed in the kit. But it looks really good paired with chairs like that. And I do the same thing in the upper part of the like tower area too and I wanted to layer different candles around. I put some of those candles outside too because I thought it would be nice to at least have a pathway lit up with candles that goes to the barn area of the builds. And that's like pretty much what I was doing. And what did I do with this basket? Because I did something with the basket that I really liked. Oh no, I'm thinking about something else. Okay. You'll see it after, but the new candle that came with life and death I just put some of the debug sage into the tray and it like felt very festive and I really like it. Yeah, here it is. And so I'm like, wow, I'm gonna have to do that from now on. It's just add different things. So I have like a little stick in there as well. And then I have some of the sage and I feel like it feels festive. It's like this holly that's on the dining room table, but paired with the candles without like some of the like berries on it and stuff. I feel like in a lot of my videos I have to stop because of dogs barking, but that's because I've been like doing voiceovers closer to the weekend, and that's when my brother's dog comes to like play with my dogs, and so um they always bark when he shows up, and then I have to stop. But when I was like going back and I was putting the this like audio into it to restart my other one, I was like thinking about the color palette and I like recently because like I have this coloring book that like I was originally using with just like crayons and then I had gotten like a reel on Instagram from like the artist of the coloring book who was using these really pretty markers. And like I like impulsively bought these fancy markers for my coloring book. And every time I color in it, I do the same exact color palette as my Sims builds. And I was starting to realize that. And like every time I try and do something different in it, I hate it. And I'm like, this is literally just my Sims builds, but in a coloring book. Now it's like the like deep greens and burgundies and just like a whole bunch of different wood tones. And it's like the same thing when I'm coloring now. It's just like a whole bunch of different wood. And then I'm like, you know what? This makes sense because when I'm coloring these pictures, I'm like, I need different like tones of brown around because I don't want it all to just be the same like one. And then I'm like, and then I complain in The Sims when like the wood swatches don't match, but then when I'm like coloring, I want to make sure that they don't match. So I'm like, I guess it's really not such a bad thing that sometimes it's hard to pair different like swatches in The Sims because like some of the packs there's just like the wood is just never going to like match perfectly and that's just like how it is. And that was always something where I was like, I feel like I should have more matching swatches, but that's not really something that I guess I want anyway. But yeah, I realized that even when I'm not building in The Sims, I'm still decorating the same exact ways as I would in The Sims, but by coloring. And it's just like when I like flip through it, I'm like, this literally is just Sims practice now. Cause I'm like, wow, I like these colors together. And it reminds me of this tower because that's like the only markers that I really use is like an orange one, a green one, a burgundy one, and then all of the brown ones, and like a yellow one for flowers. And that's like literally all that's the colors that I'm using in this build here. But I think the tarot tower is now done, and now it's just the bedrooms and then the bathroom and the very large like magical library that's upstairs. But this is the first bedroom that I furnished, and I really love the rugs. Like we gotten such good rugs recently. Well, at least in the last, like since Cottage Living came out, because I remember a long time ago, the rugs in the game, it was very hard to find a rug that worked. None of them really fit my style of what I would want. And I was recently looking, well, literally, I think it was last night. I was looking through some of the packs, just like the build buy stuff, because I know that I had gotten a like request to maybe do a tier list for like um building packs and like my thoughts on like how they would be in like a tier list. And it's something that I do want to do. And I think I'm going to, like, do that for, like, end of the year, maybe, like, start of 2025. Um, I was going to do it a couple months ago, and then I was like, "I kinda wanna wait until the new pack is out," and now I'm like, maybe it was just perfect timing to do it at, like, the end of a year or something where I, like, kind of go over some of the packs that I think are more worth it for witchy builds specifically. Because I think my tier list will probably be really different compared to some others because there's like I know there's some popular packs that I just don't use and like they're really like loved packs like the tiny home decorator one I know is like a fan favorite and honestly that one would probably end up in like bottom tier for my builds because I don't think I use pretty much any of the furniture in that pack. So I feel like it could be interesting to kind of like see what packs may have like more like witchy, like medieval fantasy items that you might not expect to. Because there are some that you just wouldn't even know. Like I know that Dine Out is one of those where you wouldn't think that there would be a lot for the sort of building style, but there's some like key clutter items in there that I use in every single build, which like would I recommend a game pack to somebody just for a few items? I'd probably only do that for my friend Molly, who literally has bought packs specifically for one item that she's seen me use in my builds. So I don't think everyone would do that, but it like there's some hidden items in some of the packs that you wouldn't really expect. But also, if I do a tier list, that video is gonna be very long because I love to over explain myself sometimes, and I love tier lists where it's, like, really long and, like, way too much explanations. Like, when I got into Dead by Daylight, one of the first things I did was just watch, like, hours of, like, tier lists of just, like, hearing about people's thoughts of certain things that I didn't even know anything about yet because I was brand new to the game and I just didn't know. And I'll just sit there and watch an entire thing. So that's kind of what it would probably be is like way too long of a video, so it might not be everybody's thing, but, um, at least you'll be able to see what I feel like my ranking is, for some of the packs, and so this kitchen here, I know that, like, 2 videos ago, I said that I didn't really like, these counters that came with Life and Death, and, like, I wouldn't really use the fridge or the stove, and now I've been using it in all of the builds, and I really like it now. Um, I think it was just, like, this, like, marble countertop with, like, the wood. It looked like 2 very different, like, tones, and, like, it, like, threw me off, and it still kind of does, but now I like it. I'm like, I kind of like that it, like, doesn't match completely, and so I've been using that counter in a lot of the builds, like, I did that in the Manor one. I have that in my current, like, household. They have that exact counter and the fridge too. And I didn't realize that the cabinets have, like, a light underneath of it, just, like, built in. That's something I didn't even notice until I think I was doing gameplay and, like, I'd seen a light and I was like, "Oh my god, that's kind of cool." Like, the kitchen stuff has definitely, like, a modern element to it, which I've noticed they've been, like, doing for most packs is, like, they have an assortment of, like, contemporary furniture and, like, stuff like that for people who like that, and then they'll have a section of, like, antique looking stuff, and I feel like it's, like, a good, like, mix. So, like, sometimes when a pack comes out and I don't think it's going to be for me, I'm so surprised that that recording didn't pick up the howling that was happening from my brother's beagle, and that's why I stopped, but what I was saying was that when I don't think a pack's gonna be for me, I'm, like, pleasantly surprised when there's at least, like, a good group of, like, antique wooden furniture in the pack. That's been, like, what's happening lately for at least expansion packs. Because like, Lovestruck, I was like, "I don't know if there's gonna be stuff in here for me," and I was like, "I really like it for gameplay, so I'm gonna get the pack, of course," but, I didn't think that I would like the furniture in it, and then I had, like, went through all of it, and I was like, "Oh my god, this pack is, like, actually really, really good for my style," which I didn't expect to happen, and, like, the same thing with Growing Together when that came out, that has some of my favorite items in it too, and For Rent also had really good furniture like that, so, like, whoever's in charge of the themes for the packs and, like, making sure that there's, like, enough stuff for, like, different, like, builders and, like, different play styles. It, like, makes sense. There's been watch up saying that, and the next time it's gonna be, like, ultra modern, I'm not gonna have anything in the back for me, but I highly doubt that's gonna happen. I think that I feel like they've intentionally been doing a good mix, which I really appreciate because then I always like being surprised that there's like a brand new piece of furniture that I'll use in every single build. And yeah, you see I had to like place all of those items on this desk because the snapping points frustrate me a lot, which is why I don't often like put a lot of clutter into my builds. And I do love watching people who do speed builds where they have like an entire surface cluttered with like all different things and they use like the red shelf mod to like add it to the height and stuff. And then when I'm doing it, I'm like, I don't want to have to snap on all of these things and I don't want to have to move the dresser like to the side and then like put all of that on there. I had to be in a very specific mood to clutter to like an extreme level. And luckily when I was doing this, I was really enjoying cluttering. And that's why I was putting way more into it and why I didn't mind at the time putting a whole bunch of plants down. so that I could add more clutter in. And it's like I always like the result of it. I can't always bring myself to do that because sometimes when I'm building, it's just like my hands can't move as like quickly as my mind is when I'm like having these ideas. I'm like, I want this, and then it's like I can't keep up with like how fast my thoughts are moving right now. I think that's also why I'm just like a really fast builder, which like my friend has said, like, you build so fast, I don't know how you do it. And it's literally because my mind is like racing. And I'm like, I don't have the like capability of sitting there and like meticulously going through each swatch and like testing which ones look better with like another swatch. That's just not something that I'll ever be able to do because I don't have the patience for something like that. And it's like sometimes um I don't know where I was going with that, honestly. But I guess like all of that is what makes building enjoyable for me is because I'm not like putting a whole lot of thought, and it's just like I'm just kind of going with what my first instinct is with it. And it's like I'll have an idea and I'm like, okay, I want this here, and I don't have to like spend too much time picking out different like colors that I think complement each other, and I just do it based on just like immediately what I think would be nice. And because I build so much, I like have my color palette usually, and it's like I'll know like if I want like a metallic element in one section of the build, and so then I just pull out something like that. And like I've gotten a better idea of where things are in the build by catalog. Like I know that some people have said that they would build more, but like all of the packs and stuff, it makes it so like hard to go through everything and find things. And I think just like building every week for like over a year, maybe even longer. I don't know if I think I was building every week even before I was doing YouTube, but yeah, I now have sort of an idea of where things are, and I've been getting better at sorting by like color and stuff too. If I know that I want like something specific, like when I was doing my Halloween build, I was like sorting by purples and stuff because I was like, I actually don't know what items are purple in this game because that's not a color that I usually use in any of my builds. But now we're up in this like magical spell room, and this is like the podium I was talking about that came with the Life and Death expansion pack. It is so pretty, and I love those melted candles there. I paired it with just like these base game ones because I was like, they kind of like have the vibe, and I'm really sorry that it's so dark right now. I'll add lights in a second, but when I was like just starting doing this, I didn't really know what the lighting was going to be like, and the wall lights that I had put, it is not enough lighting at all. I had some like ceiling lights and like a chandelier yeah, right now. So now it's actually finally lit up a little bit. And I wanted to try and use the new chandelier, but I felt like it was just too busy, and that corner with all the candles, it's already pretty busy. I didn't need more even just like coming down from the ceiling. So I picked a more simple one over here so it didn't like overwhelm when I was like looking at it. And I was like, I know this will make for a pretty picture. I just can't have way too much like much going on like in every single area of the room. Um like, it's okay that everything's on the floor, but every like a giant like bunch of candles coming from the ceiling too, that's like too overwhelming to look at. I think that for the most part, when I'm building, my main like thought and focus is on like the composition of it and like making sure like things feel like balanced, and like using different like heights, and like how I have like the books stacked up higher and then I have some off to the side lower. So that's usually what like my brain is focusing on when I'm building. It's not really focused too much on the swatches because it's like I know what colors I like and what items already, and so I instantly just kind of go for that. But like assorting the items around is usually what my main focus is when I'm building, and like what my thoughts are on. Um And that's kind of like the thoughts that are like constantly like racing my head of like while I'm building and like moving so quickly and stuff like that. As well as like different textures, I think, and like splitting up some of the room. Like right now there's not a lot of greenery in the room, and I realized that later and I'm like, okay, I need some more like leaves and stuff to bring in a different element to the room so it's not just paper and candle wax everywhere. Sometimes it's so hard to try and explain my thought process when building because it's like a mixture of like thinking too many things and then also a mixture of just like zoning out and not like doing anything else besides just like mindlessly placing items down in a stack. And I do also think that just comes with like time of building a lot and like it slowly becomes more natural to at least like clutter some areas of a build. Like I mean if you do something every single week for so long, it kind of like becomes easier and quicker to like pick up on. Like I've seen people say that they wish that they could build like this, and it's like one of those things where I really think that like if you do it often enough and like you don't get discouraged like the first build that you do or even like the first like, I don't know. I was gonna say 100 builds, but that's kind of extreme because that's definitely I feel like that's like a high number, but um I did not most of my builds when I was more so like focusing on building in The Sims 4. Like when I look back at some of them, I'm like, what was I thinking? And it's like I wasn't really thinking. I was just like kind of learning the tools and getting a feel for my style, and it definitely takes time. So, like, if you look at my builds, you're like, "Oh, I wish I could furnish something like this," but I just don't think I could do it. And it's like you definitely can. Um, some of this is just like years of building in The Sims. Like I've been playing this game since it came out, and I've been building like nonstop since like 2021. I was like really focusing more on The Sims because I used to be a simmer where I would touch the game and then I wouldn't touch it again for like 6 months and then I'd come back to it and then I wouldn't be able to stop playing it for hours every single day for like a week straight, and then I'd stop again and then I'd pick it back up later. So that's like the exact way I used to play The Sims, and I know that's how a lot of people enjoy The Sims too. But now it's like I do play this game every single week. Not every day. I used to build like way more often, but now it's like I feel like I put a lot more into my builds now. So it's like less builds, but I feel like they are like the quality of the builds are a lot better than they used to be for me. And this room is pretty much done now. I really didn't know what to do with the rest of the space up here, so I just did like multiple different like areas with chairs, which is like there's 3 different like just like chairs that you could sit in and read. And I'm like I feel like that's maybe one too many chairs up here because like this is a very small house downstairs. It's a 2 bedroom. um I guess you have options of where you'd like to sit. There's the rocking chair. um I mean that like green chair seems like it would be pretty uncomfortable. I don't think anyone's sitting there actually for reading or anything, but so maybe there is only 2 chairs up here that's actually useful. But yeah, I'm just adding more plants around, and I add some more ivy in because I was like, I feel like ivy up here works for it. But yeah, now we're into the screenshots, and you can kind of just see a still shot of some of what I just spent the last almost hour decorating, and you could kind of see what it would look like in gameplay. I really do like how the candle area came out. It's definitely one of my favorite spots in the house, and like the book nook kit with those stacks of book made it so much easier to actually decorate. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I may or may not have a speed build next week. It depends on if I do need to take a little week just to kind of like refresh and come back to building and editing without like feeling overwhelmed by it. But yeah, thank you so much. Bye.